Hello, welcome. Have you ever heard of Bloody Mary? Because some mirrors show more than just your reflection. In London, one nearly destroyed two flatmates after they brought it home from the skip. One Redditor, another mirror showed someone moving on their own. And then there's the mirror game that haunted generations of girls at sleepovers. So tonight, we're looking into mirrors that don't just reflect light. They reflect something darker, something haunted. Welcome to the Haunted Mirror Collection. So in Muswell Hill, North London, two flatmates had found something strange sitting beside a skip. It was an old Victorian-style mirror. Thick, carved wooden silver frame, dusty mirror, a little cracked around the edges. It looked like it had history, so they took it home. At first, it was just a cool antique, something to fill the space in their brand new flat. So they hung it up in the hallway, and it looked perfect. Elegant and a little bit mysterious. But within just 1 week, weird things started to happen. It was all little stuff at first, objects moving around, shadows where there shouldn't have been any. The air in the flat felt different, for sure, heavier. Like the walls were holding their breath, or like they were being watched, which is relatively common when you first move into somewhere new, I suppose. You don't know if it's just the vibe or if it's because of something else, right? But both men started to have really bad dreams. One of them would wake up feeling sick for no reason at all, which again could be for multiple reasons, but it did feel like a weird sort of occurrence. And then one night, it got worse. They said the mirror showed scratches on the wall that weren't really there. So they'd look into the mirror and they'd see scratches on the wall, but when they looked back at the wall, there was no scratches, which is weird. And another time, a suitcase had flown off the wardrobe in the middle of the night. But the weirdest thing is they'd wake up with this faint red mark on their arms, or a few faint red marks on their arms. They weren't deep, but enough to feel like something had touched them. One of the men, Joseph Burke, had told the reporter later that he's never been particularly superstitious, but just being around that mirror gave him the creeps. It made him feel sick to his stomach, he said. But his flatmate, and his name is Satyrus, sorry, I don't think I said that right, but Satyrus, said he started hearing sounds, pipes rattling, footsteps when he was at home alone. They even noticed smoky shapes forming around the mirrors, around the mirror surfaces late at night and stuff like that, which was creepy. But there was just too many creepy things all in all, so eventually they decided to sell it. Decided enough was enough, but they didn't want to just sort of throw it away. Afraid of passing bad luck onto someone else. So instead, they listed it on eBay and described it as a haunted antique. Almost jokingly, they described it as a haunted mirror. They just figured, if it's cursed, they might as well warn people. Or they don't want someone to be cursed and, they'll be like, well, you didn't warn me. So they just warn people. They didn't really expect it to sell. But within a day, the listing exploded. There was over 20,000 views, dozens of messages, and bids from people who actually wanted the haunted mirror. One article called it the most unnerving sale in London. And the men said they weren't trying to make money. They just wanted it gone, honestly, which is fair. So yeah. Someone finally bought it, actually, an anonymous collector, who supposedly still owns it to this day. So the men don't actually know who the buyer was. But anyways, after the mirror had left their flat, the heaviness had lifted, they said. The nightmares they were having just simply stopped. It's strange, isn't it? That something that reflects you can turn into something that's a draining spirit in your house. But there is actually a movie based on that story. The film is called The Mirror, and it came out in 2014. But yeah, based on that one mirror that was left behind in the London skip, I wonder who left it to begin with. I wonder if they're okay. But yeah, that film plot is about 3 flatmates who bought a haunted mirror from eBay and set up cameras to document paranormal activity. So that's quite a cool sort of movie to watch if you want to imagine what may have happened to the anonymous buyer. It's a low budget film, but it's a good watch. So have you ever been told to never sleep in front of your mirror before? I know I have. I used to have a mirror in front of my bed. But the next story has come from Reddit, actually. And it's the kind that gets under your skin because it feels so ordinary, like something that could happen to anyone, right? So a user posted that one night they couldn't sleep. They were just lying there in their bed, staring across their bedroom. Their mirror that was sat opposite the bed. They were staring at that and there was nothing unusual about it. They'd seen it 1,000 times before, right? But that one night, something felt off. The air was still, almost too still. They glanced at the mirror for just a second, and they could have sworn that they saw their reflection in the mirror. But they could have sworn they saw the reflection move. Not like a flicker or a trick of the light, but like actual movement. Their reflection sat up, and then it stood up. Meanwhile, the real them, the one in the bed, hadn't moved an inch. The user said the reflection picked up a flashlight from the bedside table, the actual flashlight they had on their bedside table in real life, and had turned it on. The light beam had swept slowly across the walls, lighting up the corners of the room that they don't usually even see light in. The reflection tilted its head, almost curiously. Then it aimed the flashlight right into their eyes. They said their whole body froze, which honestly real. Their heart was pounding, couldn't breathe, couldn't even look away because it was just so weird. But then after a few seconds, or even a few minutes, they couldn't really tell, the reflection stopped. It was still again, perfectly still. Just like their real self, which is weird. So yeah, everything looked normal, but from that night on, the mirror never felt the same again. They said it started small random noises, strange chills, the sense of someone standing behind them when they were brushing their teeth and stuff like that, or every time they walked past the mirror, they felt like they were being watched. They even ended up covering the mirror with a blanket for a while, but apparently the feeling didn't go away, so yeah, creepy. The Reddit post ended with one simple line, and he said, "Sometimes I think it's not my reflection anymore. It's something pretending to be me," which is super creepy. I mean, you read stories like that and think maybe it's just their imagination, maybe it's sleep paralysis, or maybe it's just your brain playing tricks on you when you're tired or something, but there is still something deeply uncomfortable about the idea of your reflection and it not possibly being you. Like, that is, gives me the creeps. But yeah, that was an interesting story. So I'm going to end these stories, this trilogy, with the infamous Bloody Mary story. I don't think we can talk haunted mirrors without talking about this one game. So you know how at every sleepover there's that one game that nobody really wants to play, but somehow everyone ends up doing it anyway, right? For a lot of us, that game was Bloody Mary. The weird part is, it didn't even start as like a horror game. It started as a love spell. So in the 18th and 19th centuries, girls would stand in front of a mirror holding a candle, hoping to catch a glimpse of their future husband. Right. Sometimes they'd even walk backwards up the staircase, like in front of the mirror, sometimes eating an apple or brushing their hair. And basically how it worked was, if you were lucky, you'd see a face. You'd see his face, the future husband, I don't know, just a face. And if you weren't, or if you were going to essentially die before you got married, you'd see a skull. It wasn't like a weird thing, it was like a hopeful thing, right? The little superstition slowly twisted over time, so people began to believe mirrors weren't just like reflections, they were portals. And this is why some cultures, when someone dies, they cover all of the mirrors so the soul doesn't get trapped inside and haunt them, or haunt the soul, I don't know. By the time the 1970s rolled around, the ritual had changed. So now it was about kids in dark bathrooms, one candle flickering, chanting her name, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, 3 times. I've heard sometimes 13 times. I don't really know. I know for me it was 3 times. And some versions say you spin around, some say you need to whisper. But the idea is the same. You call her name and she'll appear. Varying accounts from some people that have played the game. Some people say that they saw a pale woman's face slowly forming in the glass. Others describe glowing eyes or bloody fingerprints appearing on the mirror surface. And some, they woke up later with scratches on their arms and no memory of what happened after the 3rd chant, which is very, very creepy. Who she is depends on who you ask, really. I mean, some say that Mary Tudor, Queen Mary I of England, was the one who, this is the one that ordered hundreds of executions and became known as Bloody Mary, like in the real world. Others say it's Mary Worth, a witch who was burnt. A witch who was burnt for her magic. Burned. I don't know why, I don't know what the past tense for burn is. Burned for her magic. And some say it's none of them, just the spirit on the other side of the mirror, waiting for someone foolish enough to invite them in. Speaking of that reminds me of the movie Talk to Me, which was so good, by the way, so good. But anyway, folklorist Janet Langlois actually collected dozens of versions of the game in the 1970s, and names like Mary Wales or Mary Worth kept popping up, all blending together into one urban legend that never really quite died. So, any Mary you want, basically. But maybe the scariest part is mirrors really do mess with your mind. I mean, if you stare long enough into a low light, your brain starts to distort the reflection, features shift. You can see your eyes darken sometimes, or just generally, if you stare at anything, the shapes start to move or things start to appear that aren't really there. Science calls it the Toxler effect. But we call it seeing her. So whether she's a ghost, a queen, a trick of the mind, there's something deeply human about our fear of what looks back at us, because really, we were never meant to actually be able to see our own reflections. But each of these haunted mirror stories inspired my set of nails today, its own look. For the North London mirror, cracked some chrome-like nail polish to sort of give this like cracked mirror effect. And yeah, so I don't know why I mentioned that. But anyways, the Reddit story, I got some cool like mirrors and people in mirrors, ghosts in mirrors. And yeah, it's a few different things. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed that video, and which mirror would you best prefer to have in your house? I guess the last one isn't really one particular mirror, but the premises of Bloody Mary living in the mirror in your house, I don't know. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget that every Sunday I'll go into another series of dark stories whilst doing some nail art, because beauty can be haunting too.